Perfect. So our recording is in place. So thank you everybody for your time today. This is Tom Crean Business Centre's first Tech Tuesday of 2021, and a very warm welcome to everybody on the call today. My name is Emily Reen. I'm the Enterprise Coordinator for MTU on the Kerry campus. I'm also the New Frontiers Programme Manager here based at Tom Crean Business Centre. You'll see my halo behind me. So we are joined today by Katrina Power and Kieran O'Donoghue. And I'm going to share my screen now. Perfect. Okay. So today is our introduction to the circular bioeconomy and AgriTech clusters. So I'm going to introduce my panelists in just a moment. I'm also going to introduce the Tom Crean Business Centre and the New Frontiers programme. Then we're going to speak with Katrina Power on the intro to the circular bioeconomy cluster, followed by Kieran O'Donoghue with an intro to the AgriTech cluster. And we're going to finish up with a Q&A. So first off, our panelists today. So we have Katrina Power, who's the Education Outreach Manager for the Circular Bioeconomy. So Katrina is a project lead and contact point for the Circular Bioeconomy Cluster based at Munster Technological University and the Tom Crean Business Centre. Over the last 10 years, she's worked at the intersection of innovation, sustainable technology and business for organizations in Canada, UK and Europe. She's a strategist, communicator, and program manager and has initiated and executed multi-stakeholder projects to achieve a low carbon economy. Katrina has a master's in environment, development and policy from the University of Sussex in the UK and a bachelor's in international development and food policy from UCC. We also have Kieran O'Donoghue, who is the Educational Outreach Manager for the AgriTech Cluster, again based here at MTU on the Kerry campus and the Tom Crean Business Centre. Kieran's background is in an engineering environment within the manufacturing industry, where he has worked for more than 20 years in a variety of engineering and management roles. During this time, he's gained a wealth of experience in all aspects of business, particularly with the leadership team to deliver critical business objectives in the areas of new product production, process and development, technology development, validation, and continuous improvement. Kieran has an honours degree in electronics and a master's degree in project management and is a qualified Six Sigma Black Belt. So first of all, I'm going to briefly talk about the Tom Crean Business Centre. So Tom Crean Business Centre is a centre for research, innovation and entrepreneurship. For the Tom Crean Centre, we have our website, which is creancentre.com. We are going to be launching in the next few weeks our new website. But to give you a bit more information on Tom Crean, we have 22 fully equipped office units, internet connectivity, meeting rooms with AV facilities, private meeting pods. We have 2 single and 1 double. We have free car parking, 24-hour building access, security, coffee dock, shared services with photocopier, franking machine, and access to campus facilities and a resource library. So here's just a few brief pictures that we've taken of the centre. So up to the left of my screen, you will see our one of our training room facilities, where we have brand new 60-inch 4K screens, projectors, and we have plenty of space for a training environment. Then to the right, we've got our canteen
She's the Maria
facilities.
of this place in Kerry.
Followed by, we have our meeting booth. So you'll see here the individual private pod, and we have a double pod as well. Then we have some of our meeting room facilities at the bottom there for a collaborative workspace or for a incubating team. Here's to give you a little bit of information on the types of organizations we have within the centre. So we have a variety of startups and scale-ups from our New Frontiers programme, but also incubation. So we would have Clarity, Crew Outdoors. We also have some of our former New Frontiers who've just finished the New Frontiers program, like Meld Apparel, Premium Solutions, Beersmith, Prudensis, and we also have Salasso. So the programs that we offer here at New Frontiers at Tom Crean Business Centres, the New Frontiers Entrepreneur Development Program funded by Enterprise Ireland. We also have our Student Inc. program funded by the HEA, and it is coordinated from our campus in Cork at the Rubicon Business Centre. And we also have Goldmine, which is our secondary level program. Then we have our research centres based here at Tom Crean. So we have SEED, which is the Centre for Entrepreneurship, Enterprise and Development, which is run by Dr. Brito Dwyer. We have IMAR, which is the Intelligent Mechatronics RFID and Internet of Things, run by Dr. Joseph Welch. We also have Shannon ABC, Applied Biotechnology Centre, run by Tim Yeomans. And then we have a variety of clusters based here at Tom Crean. So we have ACE, which is the AgriTech Centre for Excellence. We have AgriTech Ireland Cluster, who is managed by Kieran O'Donoghue. We also have the Circular Bioeconomy Cluster South-West, managed by Katrina Power. We have Kerry SciTech, and we also are the chair of the Kerry Hub Network in Tom Crean. So just to give you a brief overview on what New Frontiers program, as this is our main development program that we have based here at Tom Crean. So it is Enterprise Ireland's National Entrepreneur Development Program for innovative early stage startups. It's a 3-phase program based in 14 Institute of Technologies and Technological Universities, campus incubation centres across the country. Each year, New Frontiers funds 150 companies in phase 2. In Kerry, we take 40 applicants for phase 1 and 12 for phase 2. The program itself is designed for anyone who has an innovation business idea with export and employment potential, can show evidence of a commercial market, are ambitious, growth orientated, and committed to engage fully in all aspects of the program. We have 2 main phases that we offer here. So phase 1 is test your idea. So for anybody with an idea that they want to develop out, that includes 8 part-time workshops over 4 weeks, and we take 40 applicants, and we normally hold this in March and in June. Phase 2 then runs full-time from September. This is the phase to develop your business in. It's 6 months full-time with 12 applicants on a yearly basis. This includes full support, mentoring, and workshop available. We have office space included at Tom Crean Business Centre, and it also includes a €15,000 tax-free stipend. So additional supports we have available here at Munster Technological University would be our research centres. As I mentioned earlier, we've got SEED, IMAR, Shannon ABC, and UNESCO. So UNESCO is a chair partner for inclusion, sport, recreation, and fitness, and it is run by Catherine Carty. We also have 3 schools of study here on the Kerry campus, which would be STEM, Health and Social Sciences, Business, Computing, and Humanities. So for any information with regards to Tom Crean Business Centre, the programs we offer, the supports at MTU, please feel free to reach out to info@creancentre.com or to myself directly at emily.reen@mtu.ie. So now we're going to start with Katrina Power, who's going to talk to us about the circular bioeconomy and their role with SMEs. Thank you, Katrina.
Thanks, Emily. All right, can everyone see that? It's okay? Great. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks so much for having me here today, Emily. I'm delighted to be speaking about the cluster. So my name is Katrina Power, and I'm the Education and Outreach Manager for what is the Circular Bioeconomy Cluster South-West. We're a new initiative. We were founded by the CircBio Research Group, and it's funded by Enterprise Ireland, and also we sit within MTU as well. So before I begin, what is the circular bioeconomy? Well, it is the production of renewable biological resources and the conversion of these resources and waste streams and byproducts into value-added products like food or feed, bio-based products, and bioenergy. Think about biopackaging, for example. Everyone's looking for compostable packaging, and what are the materials that you would need to be able to develop that? That would be very much a bioeconomy type product. Or even, seaweed-based cosmetics. Again, that would fall in within the term of bioproducts. Bioenergy as well. So when it's biomass, that's waste biomass from the wood process or even from other types of biomass that could be used for energy. So there's a lot of actual activity in bioeconomy in Ireland, but we don't necessarily always talk about it. And it might fall into different sectors, often marine, often agri-food, and often in the forestry sector as well. And so what's driving the circular bioeconomy remit? Well, there's a lot of European policy out at the moment. So for example, you'll see the bioeconomy strategy, which is updated in 2018. You'll see the farm to fork strategy, you'll see the Green Deal. There's lots of things that reference bioeconomy and its importance in sustainability for Europe going forward. And this is why we think it's very important for the Southwest region as well, given the strengths in our natural resources down here. It's expected to be a $7.7 trillion market by 2030, and expected that, the national bioeconomy, in the European bioeconomy strategy, they cited that it's going to create 1 million jobs across Europe by 2030. So there's a lot to gain by participating and by recognizing what the bioeconomy is. And so what do? Well, we're a regional cluster. And as mentioned before, we're supported by Enterprise Ireland for the next 3 years. And our role is to develop and promote the circular bioeconomy across South-West with a focus on both marine and also waste to value. And fundamentally, the activities that we will be doing are working together collaboratively with businesses, investors, working with education and government, helping companies to grow through strategic business programs and capacity building services, helping with market connections like networking, events, and projects, and also supporting on talent and skills, filling those gaps, for example, where there's training gaps around circularity or perhaps around bioeconomy or sustainability. And ultimately, what we're trying to achieve is to help increase firms' competitiveness within the circular bioeconomy, to help accelerate innovation, advance research and development, support their internationalization, and help increase those market connections that may not otherwise be there if we weren't there to help. So that's a brief introduction to what we're doing. In terms of where the cluster came from, there's actually a number of projects at Munster Technological University led by the Circ Bio Research Group, who have been working on this for the past number of years. And there's a team of 13 researchers who work on various projects like, for example, here, Farm Zero C, they work at the producer and at the farm level to create one of the first ever carbon neutral farms, which is happening down in Shannock near Bandon with the Carberry Group. And then you also have projects like Efficient Food, where they're evaluating where the food waste is across the primary producers. You have other projects like In Green, where they're working with larger entities. It's a European project, so they're working with companies like Barilla, who make pasta, to figure out what they can do with their side waste streams from the pasta making process. Can you create another added value product? Agri Bridges and Cupid projects, they're very much about how to support, at the producer level, and how to help them engage with consumers so they don't lose value when they sell their product. It's about creating shorter food supply chains. And then on the BioSwitch project, it's all about brand engagement and helping people to understand, and consumers, what biodegradable, what bioproducts are in the market today. And there's actually a lot of interest they found from this project, but 90% of consumers in Ireland want to see more bioproducts in the market. It's just, how do we get them there? So there's all these projects that have been happening at MTU by the research group. And so what they realized was, we want to create a cluster because there's a lot of market opportunity here that the region can benefit from. So who is on the team? I'm the manager of the cluster initiative. I'm advised by staff from Munster Technological University who are part of the Circ Bio Research Group and also the executive team, but also working with Kerry Group and Pure Ocean Algae and Harbour Group, Nutrimara, Dillon Waste, and Enterprise Ireland as well. We're also, very much part of the ecosystem broadly within Ireland. So there's the Irish Bioeconomy Network, who include Bioorbic, the Irish Bioeconomy Foundation, Shannon ABC, And then we would work a lot with those partners, for example, on Bioeconomy Week Ireland. And we're very much the regional node in that way. We also work with other partners within the kind of more South-West region, like Energy Cork and Clean Technology Centre, Shannon ABC, IMER, RDI Hub. In terms of what we do with the cluster, we work on help to seed and work on collaborative projects with businesses. We help with knowledge transfer and business case development for companies. For example, say they have identified a waste stream within their business and it's a biological waste stream, say it's food waste. They would then come to us and say, we're very interested in learning about how to, what to do with this. How can we prevent it? How can we manage it? Is there something else we can do with it to be able to and develop a business case around that? And so we'd help them do that. And we'd also help support industry and SMEs with innovation and entrepreneurship, help them on the fostering skills and talent. We've just gotten a circular economy certificate approved for January 2021. So if anyone's interested in that, it might be something that's of interest. And we're very much a regional node for national and European programs and connecting to funding opportunities as well. And so over the past 6 months since our inception, we've helped about 20 businesses with business case projects. We've had, we've hosted a few innovation exchange events where actually businesses are now starting to collaborate. They found out what each other do, and they're now working together, which is brilliant on projects. Topics that have come up for us in the Southwest include wool and bio waste, like food waste, agri-food side streams, and also marine as well, like seaweed and things like that. And yeah, we very much support business collaboration as well, whether it's working one-to-one with businesses or working in a group of businesses. And this is my last slide now, in case I've been talking for too long. But in terms of, I wanted to share some opportunities for SMEs to get involved. One of the European projects we're involved with is Empower Bio. And basically, you can have access to tools to enhance your investment readiness. And you can also get in touch with investors and get some advice on your business strategy and pitch. And it's Empower Bio actually works with 90 clusters across Europe, and we're one of those. And then we help the SMEs through that to be able to get access to those types of services that they might need. And you have access to experts to help you do that. So if you're interested in that program, do let me know. Other ways you can get involved is we are building and finalizing our strategy over the next month or two. So if you're interested in joining a workshop and helping to shape the strategy for the cluster, let me know. I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you. You can also, if you get involved, you can access the programs and you can sign up for a newsletter and things like that. So and there's my contact details there is info@cbcsw.ie. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I'm happy to take your Q&A at the end.
Thank you very much, Katrina, for that presentation. It was very good. Thank you. Kieran, if you want to talk to us about the AgriTech Ireland cluster. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Emily. Just share the slide deck with you there now, folks. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. Okay, so as I guess developing on a little bit from what Katrina has talked about as well, I'm going to share with you a little insight into what we're doing with the AgriTech cluster. So I suppose in similar way to Katrina, I'm based at the Tom Crean Business Centre in the same office actually as Katrina, and we're one of two clusters based here at the MTU campus. And I suppose also to say, right, it's funded, the strategy that we have with the cluster formation is funded by Enterprise Ireland through the Regional Technology Clustering Fund. So it's the RTCF fund. That's also funding 10 other clusters across the island in various different TUs and ITs. Okay, so I suppose my role, similar to Katrina, is in the outreach, educational and outreach activity, trying to, I suppose, bring together companies in terms of identifying needs and trying to deliver opportunities for them to work together and to create linkages that may not have existed before these new opportunities. So I'm going to look at a couple of topics with you. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the farming landscape, I suppose, first of all, and I suppose then to start to show, I suppose, the technology opportunity that exists in that landscape today, and especially how that technology can be used to meet future needs of farming. And what I want to do in these first two topics here is to really look at that relationship. So as such, that marriage between agriculture and technology, and how that's going to develop and what's happening at the present time, and what sort of needs it can meet for us. And then we'll take a look at the clustering a little bit deeper. We'll look at the ideas that we have. We'll look at our journey so far along our plan. And just on this graphic here on the right side, just to sort of set the scene a little bit. So we've got our farmers here who have to make decisions day in, day out about what they do on their farms. Okay, and all of that is going to have an impact over here on the right-hand side in terms of profitability, in terms of food production, and more and more technology is being adapted. And we can see this in the stream here on top. Various different types of technologies now in play in agriculture today. And what we're looking to do within the cluster activity is we're looking to find collaborations. So collaborations between the providers of these technologies, so the companies who are supplying these technologies to the agricultural community, finding ways to collaborate, be that to improve product functionality, be that to improve training skills, and working together to be able to inform more effective decisions, okay? And that leading into an overall more effective impact in the wider environment. So just to touch a little bit on the need, and I want to show you this little scales here. So I like to look at it this way. So I suppose we all know that the global population is growing, and you see this figure here. So by 2050, there's going to be 30% or more than 30% more of us on the globe. And so we have a big food challenge, right? So we know we need to produce a lot more. And, you know, I suppose normally when you think about that from a farming and agriculture context, that would lead to more intensive farming. And I suppose the practice up till now has been, you know, if we want to get more output from farms, we may need to spread more fertilizer, or we may need to apply more pesticide. And I suppose we know now that that's not the approach that we can use going forward, because on the other side of this scale here, we've got the climate and we've got the sustainability challenge, right? So we know that the more intensive our farming becomes, the more of an effect that can have on the environment. So we've got to try and balance, I suppose, the scale, and that's the big challenge, right? So we've got to be able to do more with less, and that's, I suppose, then creating as such really the opportunity for technology. And what the technology can look at is trying to tip this scale back up in the clockwise direction through, I suppose, developing technology solutions to enable farming practice to be more efficient on the one side, and also through finding ways to meet the needs and the innovations required to be more sustainable and to meet the sustainable goals and challenges that we have as well. So to dig a little bit deeper now on this slide, folks, on the AgriTech opportunity, and I suppose, you know, even today, if you look across the entire agriculture value chain, and you look at it, say, from the farm to the fork stream, you know, it's clear that technology is already there. We're already using technology. And when we talk about it in terms of different revolutions, like the Industrial Revolution, you know, AgriTech is said to be in its fourth revolution, right? So where it's looking at, you know, doing things a little bit more precise, a little bit smarter. And what are the enablers for that? So you can see, I suppose, over here on the right side is, you know, a selection, you know, of different types of technology that, you know, are in play and are under development, let's say, and in terms of their application in agriculture. And more these technologies are being connected and are being used to make farming practice more efficient. And the key, I suppose, requirements there is how you use data as one side. So we have lots of data now coming from various sensors. The sensors may be becoming a little bit more affordable, similarly with robotics. And one of the big challenges with this agri-tech revolution is how we connect all of these systems together. So we don't want, let's say, farmers in the field with their smartphones and they're looking at 5 or 6 different applications, all of them giving different signals about what decisions they should take. So very important, the interconnection here and the sharing of information. And I suppose this type of approach is what we're really looking at within the cluster environment, how we can connect these dots as such, how we can pull these ideas together and start to convert them into real technology solutions. And part of this, I suppose, drive towards sustainability as well will bring more and more precision into farming. So rather than going out and covering an area with pesticide, you may just go in specific areas, only where it's needed. So being smarter. And this is this whole need for increased flexibility, increased intelligence within the way we do our farming. And this is a major shift, I suppose, in what we've done up until now. And this is the big opportunity that's there from a technology perspective. So I'd just like to touch a little bit for you now on the cluster idea and what it's all about in terms of the setup of our cluster. Like Katrina, we are now a number of months in, and we've started to work on meeting some of our goals here. So I suppose the vision that we'd like to see is we'd like to see, Ireland, because of its strong heritage in agriculture, and also now because of the very vast and diverse skill base we have in technology, we want to see Ireland being a world leader in the agri-tech provision of solutions. And why not? We have this background and we're well positioned. Ireland is, I guess, small enough to be a very good test bed for these types of technologies, but then the key is then to be able to market and sell those products and services in an international market. And that's, I suppose, one of the key focuses for the cluster is looking at ways really to find solutions for agri-tech organizations. So key focus areas are around the people side. So looking at what kind of skills are needed for the future. This will have a big focus on how we can improve productivity, how we can improve competitiveness of the companies. So also coupled with that, what we're seeing from our initial collaborations is that there's a very important need for increased innovation. So looking at what sort of features are in the products, how we can create technology offerings for the future, how can they be interconnected with other systems? How do we share data? So lots of scope here for product and process development. And then I guess also to mention the market side. So I suppose we want to, within the cluster approach, start to look not just at the local market. Our cluster in the agri-tech has a national focus, and we're looking then at seeing how we can introduce more markets to the products and services that are offered by the companies in the cluster. So very important for us is, I suppose, the endless market that's available in the global context. And as well as that, then through business development, how do we grow businesses? What are the key enablers for this growth? So these are the types of, I suppose, areas or focuses that we are working on within the cluster. And just to give, I suppose, as well, a flavor of the kind of landscape. So who's involved, right? So looking at it, I suppose, as things stand at the moment, right, we have the industry players here, okay, and also the idea with the cluster is to be able to have collaborations within industry, but also to connect that with government policy, government supports, and also the third level and the research organizations that we have. And that's one of the challenges, and I suppose one of the core focuses with the AgriTech cluster is to uncover common goals between all of these stakeholders here and trying to find these overlaps. So where are the areas where industry needs to collaborate with the knowledge organizations? Where are the supports from government? How is it aligned with the policy? And what we're trying to do with the cluster activities is to try and find these areas where we need collaboration and trying to, I suppose, pull that together then as such being the glue that holds those sort of collaborations, creates the occasions for these collaborations, but also, holding those together. And I suppose just to say as well, I suppose, sectors and also regions that have adopted this approach have already, there's seen that they can exceed the expectations for particular sectors. So this clustering approach is more and more being adopted as a way to facilitate economic development. And we'll see it more and more in the policies in future. So a little bit here, folks, as well about our plan. So where we are, okay, we kicked off in April, and at the moment, very similar to Katrina, we've been developing our strategy through a series of workshops, okay? And the core focus of those workshops so far has been around identifying, on the one hand, what are the needs of the industry, what are the needs of the AgriTech companies, but also then what are the potential projects we could work on together? What areas can we collaborate on? So we've done an assessment on that, and now that's starting to build into our work plan, and that's what we want to do by September. We're working to define a work plan that we're going to deliver together over the next couple of years and add value in the variety of focus areas that I just talked about. So that's it from my side. Thanks for your time. You can see here the link to the website, folks. So if you'd like to take a look, and you can follow us through the website then and the usual social media channels there. And if you'd like to get involved in any way, please contact me and we can discuss how that collaboration could start. So thanks very much, and I'll hand back to you, Emily, and we may take some questions.
Thank you, Kieran and Katrina. Perfect. Okay, thank you both for a wonderful presentation. The clusters unlock business opportunities and new value chains across sectors. An active cluster in industry, SMEs, educational institutes and universities, government and finance stakeholders working together towards similar goals through targeted programs will speed up the innovation cycle, the foster talent and support enterprise growth. Thank you so much for your presentations to both Kieran and Katrina. We are going to ask a few questions to both Kieran and Katrina, but in the meantime, if anybody would like to ask some questions, please pop your questions into the chat box and we will try to get through them in the time that we have left for the presentation today. So again, Kieran, Katrina, thank you so much. I'm going to ask, I suppose, a variety of questions just to recap briefly on the presentations that you gave today. So my first question here would be, what are the main benefits on a regional and national level do you see the clusters having? So maybe Kieran, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. So I suppose looking at the regional side, the cluster has the opportunity to create collaborations in those regions. So if you look at, let's say, engagement with research centers, for example, right, or technology gateways, companies that are in the region may not be availing of some of the R&D supports there. So from that context, then it's possible to make those linkages. See, is there an innovative project that the company or a group of companies together may want to work on that they're not prioritizing within their own resource. And this is, I suppose, an opportunity for them that it can then potentially lead to a development of a new product, new feature, new process, for example, that they can use then to expand that offering nationally and even beyond that. So I think that's maybe an example of how they can work on the regional base, but also then they can be part of a more national type of project as well, or national initiative.
Perfect, thank you. Katrina, do you want to add anything there?
Yeah, sure. There was a study done by the European Observatory for Clusters and Industrial Change, and it was really interesting to hear that when they did an assessment of the companies within the clusters, they achieved higher levels of growth within a shorter time frame. They were able to jump from TRL 4 to 7 to commercialization as well much quicker, because they were able to access all the services in one place. And it's very important for, I guess, company growth when you're trying to rapidly validate a new product or service that you might have And it's also very interesting to learn that across Europe, clusters account, for all the companies that are part of them, their members, they actually account for 61 million jobs. And so it's a big, I would say it's a big opportunity for regional economic growth. And then when I look at other examples, diving in a bit more, for example, there's a clean tech cluster in Austria, and they're located within a small geographical area. And there's about 70 clean technology companies. They might work across renewables or energy efficiency and things like that. And they're able to attribute about 10% of the local GDP to those companies alone, through their sales and through having jobs and things like that. So very exciting, I guess, in terms of economic development. But fundamentally, there's a lot of, opportunities across regional that then feed into, national policy and also European policy as well.
Very good, thank you. So that leads me on to my next question, which would be leading on from that. What kind of role do you see the clusters having in supporting startups and SMEs within the region and or nationally as well?
Yeah, I can take that.
Katrina,
like.
Yeah,
sure. So the role of the cluster, as I kind of highlighted before, it's, we can help if a startup or an SME has a new idea and they want to validate that. And maybe they're looking for some business case development, or maybe they're looking for support. We're able to point them in the right direction to maybe connect with the right research team, connect with the right stakeholder, whoever it might be. Sometimes it's not in the Southwest, sometimes it's somewhere across Ireland. Or maybe, for example, an SME or startup is looking to fundraise, or maybe they're looking for training. What can we offer as part of that, or who can we put them in touch with? So fundamentally, we're the kind of, I would say we're a one-stop shop for those kind of conversations, and then we can funnel the right people to the right opportunities. And sometimes we'll have our own programs as well that might be able to support companies too.
Perfect, thank you.
And just to add to that, I suppose, those direct, offerings are there, but also I think, and it's sometimes a key part of the clustering initiatives, right, is these kind of spillover effects. So say for a startup company to be involved in the cluster would give them the opportunity to meet with companies who are already operating in this sectors, and creating those kind of links and discussions can lead to lots of other opportunities that they may not even be aware of now. Know-how of stakeholders in the sector, all of these kind of intangible benefits that come through participating in those programs or those meetings and workshops that we've been just talking about. So I think that's also a big benefit to being part of a cluster initiative. And as Katrina said as well, I suppose from that then lots more can grow there. So in the regional context, if you have one or two startups, that can lead into more discussions, more ideas, more startups in that region.
Perfect, thank you. And Kieran, can you give me an example of some early wins for the cluster? Yeah,
so I suppose typically we had one example like in Luta, right, is I suppose where we've been able to, together with some companies who identified a common need, we've been able to connect them with the IMAR technology gateway. So as we've talked about through the presentations, there's the IMAR gateway is working in the space where they're really looking at the R&D possibilities and very much interested in sensors in the AgriTech space. And we've seen through the cluster discussions that there's a need here and there's a possibility for some projects. So we've already been able to progress innovation feasibility project application. So that's sent to Enterprise Ireland now for approval. And that I would say would not have happened without the clustering activity. So I think that's already an early win, and hopefully we can start to see that project progress and deliver some outcomes. And I think there's lots of opportunities there for other companies to collaborate on projects, even or even on individual projects to work on these sort of spaces.
Perfect. And Katrina, from your side?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely been some interesting projects that have come our way since we started the initiative. So for example, what I learned, as I started the research process, talking to businesses one-on-one about what their needs are what kind of support do they need? Is there support available? It became very obvious to me there was about 20 projects that needed work being done on. And so I went back to the MTU, talked to colleagues and said, okay, there's businesses who need help on feasibility, on developing the business case for use of waste, or maybe use of a byproduct that's coming out of their process, or even about developing a whole new product or service that relates to the bioeconomy. And so what we did was we created something called the Innovation Sprint Program. And so we're able to partner master's students from the Bioeconomy with Business program with those businesses to work on a summer project. And that's, part of a credit as well for those students. And they also get work-related industry experience, real-life business cases to work on with industry. And, hopefully that really works out for them now. It's just kicked off. But that's something that we think is a really interesting program. We'd love to continue. Through other events as well that we've been hosting, I've had feedback that businesses, who joined, they very much enjoyed it. And as well as that, they got to meet other businesses they wouldn't have otherwise met and are now collaborating as a result. Because they were one business was looking for a lab, but didn't have access to one, and he wants to get some test results done, and he wants to test the material. And so he's able to collaborate with another company on that. And, it saves him money. But also it's maybe something they can work on together to scale up a project going forward. So there's lots of interesting examples of early wins between Crean and myself. And, if companies are interested in those stories, that's great. And if they want to be part of it, brilliant.
That's brilliant. Thanks, guys. And Kieran, why is it the right time for increased technology uptake by agriculture?
Yeah, so okay, I suppose apart just to delve back into the presentation slide, if you remember the balance between food production from agriculture, which is a major need, and also the need to be more sustainable in the way we do that, to meet the climate requirements, to also look at how we can do that in a carbon neutral way going forward. And I suppose, looking at the Green Deal, where Europe wants to be the first, I suppose, continent to be able to achieve carbon neutrality, that's what, is the big challenge, right? And if we look then at the technology side there, and even thinking close to home, what we have within the MTU, there's the AgriTech Center of Excellence, ACE. Mm-hmm. And if you look at some of the technologies that are available there, very immersive technologies that have been developed, I suppose the center has been developed through a collaboration already between industry and between the MTU to create this center where you've got technologies like AR, VR, you've got these kind of technologies allow companies to really adopt new ways of doing things. So, for example, if we look at the technology side, and you look at the ability to use augmented reality to look at product design, so you can bring the design into the virtual world, and you can look at that and see how does that work in a particular space. You could also use these kind of technologies for maintenance, for service. So if you're selling equipment globally and you need to do a guidance, rather than having to travel, you might be able to use these technologies now. So there's knock-on benefits all the way there. And what's going on in ACE is really how, to, get those technologies really used. So the technology is there, but then to try and find use cases. How can we get those technologies into the actual mainstream supply of the products and services, and the being actually used by the companies. So that's just an example, I suppose, of the opportunity that's there. And also then that whole data side of things, right? So using the data from these types of sensors that may be there now in the field as such, and bring that into certain databases. How do we share all of that information? And that's, I guess, obviously can be a sensitive one, but that's where there's a really big win, because rather than having different data sources, it's obviously a lot more effective to be able to combine that or consolidate that into an easy to use, easy to understand way.
Perfect, thank you. And I have a question from the audience. Crean used. Is there an online reference instruction of the space? Okay, I believe the question is from Jonathan.
So,
hey guys.
Hi, do you want to ask your question there, Jonathan?
Sure. How do I start this? I'm curious to understand about the data sharing and the data gathering strategy. It's always been a little contentious.
sure.
Everybody in the internet believes that data is the new gold, and the only way to get it off them is to pay them for it. The idea of collecting data and curating it, consolidating it, and distributing it across multiple industries seems to be a bit of a challenge at the moment. So I'm curious what the strategy is around that.
Yeah, so I can take that. So I suppose, Jonathan, and I've touched on data a few times there, and I suppose what we want to do with data is, like, if we look at it from the AgriTech side, there's a few within Ireland. There's already a number of quite large databases which are collecting a lot of data, like the ICBF, for example, like Pasture Base Ireland. And there's discussions, and I suppose it's a key topic now within the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine, that there needs to be a way to share this data in a way that can add value to the entire value stream. And that's acknowledged. And obviously, as you say, there's big challenges around how you do that. So we're collecting a lot of data from different sources, and we're going to be collecting a lot more data. So I suppose you can look at it one side, on the infrastructure side, you got to have the way to do that. You got to have the interfaces between the different systems, like the API type technologies to allow the sharing. And then, of course, there's the challenges around the confidentiality of certain data, and around, who takes what slice of the value if you start to share that data. But it does make sense, and when we step back and look at it, if you're collecting data, say, on livestock weight, and you're collecting data on grass growth, for example, you want to be able to put that information together to be able to inform a better decision for the farmer on the ground, right? So if you look at the data, DATA, you want to get the data, the first part on the A side of it, you want to be able to analyze that. So you want to be able to share it in a common way. And then that then forms the basis for the thinking, the decision making, and then the subsequent action, which is the A, the final letter. That is the way that it needs to go. And through the discussions I've been having, I've seen that that needs to happen. Of course, it's a big challenge around how to do that, and I can anticipate a number of projects of work to be able to find actual cases where we can make that a reality. I think that's going to be interesting to see that going forward. And it's not just for the agri-tech space. I think that's common, across manufacturing and all the various different sectors as well. So I think it's we're going to see that more and more as we go forward in Industry 4.0 as well, how this kind of data can be used to support individual companies, but then to deliver on the wider objectives.
Perfect. Thank you, Jonathan, for the question, and Kieran, thank you for fielding that one. So
You're
I have
welcome.
one final question that I'm going to go through, and I'll start with yourself, Katrina. So why would a circular bioeconomy company want to join the cluster, and how can they get involved?
Sure. So they might want to get involved. They might want to join because they're interested in learning or developing a new network within the space. They're interested in talking to like-minded businesses and companies. Maybe they need some help on market development, customer engagement. Maybe they're looking to validate a business idea and they need support with that, or they don't know how to go about it particularly well. We're here as a resource to help with that. How you can get in touch, there's a website, so www.cbcsw.ie. There's a form there, and also Emily had shared my email previously in the last slide, so you can get in contact. I'm happy to have a one-on-one chat.
Perfect. And Kieran?
Yeah, so similar. So again, happy to get in contact. And even that data question we were just talking about, Jonathan, I'm not sure if that answered your question. You can come in again if you like on the audio. We can tease it out a little bit more, or you can also, like everybody, if you have any other questions, you can connect with me, no problem. You want to come in, Jonathan, there?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. I've sent you an email, so you should have my email address at this point.
Perfect.
I'd be interested in spending some time talking about it. I got involved previously in a thing called data dignity. The idea being that you give some of the value of data back to the person or the people or the company that produced it. And then, of course, you share it out across the economy. Data dignity has kind of gotten wrapped up with privacy, which is perfectly reasonable, but it's not the only element of data dignity. So perhaps we can talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll connect with you afterwards, Jonathan, and we can continue that discussion. Thanks for that. Yeah, and I suppose more generally, I think the best way to connect with me is through the website, AgriTech Ireland.ie, and also there you'll see my contact details. You can send me a direct email, and you can follow our journey, I guess, through the social media channels. Also, you get the link on the website there as well. Okay,
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. I just see a comment there from Mark to say biomass waste and commercial waste to hydrogen will be a way forward in the circular economy. So thank you so much, Kieran O'Donoghue from the AgriTech Ireland cluster and Katrina Power from the Circular Bioeconomy South-West cluster. Thank you so much for your time today. And for everybody who has joined in, we hope you enjoyed our introduction to the circular bioeconomy and AgriTech clusters for SMEs. My name is Emily Reen. I am the enterprise coordinator for MTU on the Kerry campus, and also the New Frontiers program manager here at MTU Kerry and Tom Crean Business Centre. If anybody wants to get in touch, our email address is info@creancenter.com. As mentioned at the beginning, this is a recorded webinar, so please feel free to get in contact should you want a copy of the recording. This is our, as I mentioned, our first Tech Tuesday event online for 2021. We will be running these events on a monthly basis. Our next event will be held in July, on the 13th of July, and it'll be based around leadership for SMEs going forward. And we will reach out with that information shortly to everybody on the call. Again, thank you so much for your time today. We are just a minute under the hour, so we've kept it short and sweet for you. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Emily. Take care.